What's up, guys? It's Mr. Jamfed, and today we are back for another episode of On the Contrary, man. It's coming out every day. Nah, I'm kidding. Let me not lie about that. But you're gonna get one thing I've learned is to not promise things and then overwhelm myself. You know, me and Joey, my co-host here, was talking about that. So they'll come out when they come out, but they're gonna be a lot more frequent. But today, ladies and gents, as you can see on your screen, I know I usually have the thumbnail, but we're going to have a little bit of, this will be more like a video podcast. Galarian Darmanitan has been banned from OU. Yes.
Oof.
I know a lot of people are rejoicing. I know a lot of people are celebrating. But Joey, what are your thoughts, my guy?
I mean, I know the reason why they did it. It's because SPL is right around the corner, and they don't want it to be like a crazy mess, right?
Right.
In the first SPL for this generation, so that's why they quick banned it. And I do agree that Galarian Darmanitan is ridiculous in the sense that its ability to get out of every situation, I think, is the big one, right? To break through its counters with either the 30 U-turn or the 30% Ice Go Crash flinch is the big one as well. Ice is just so crazy offensively, and they paired it with its great speed tier 317, being faster than Drill, and just a whole bunch of other just threats makes it such a big thing. Being faster than Rotom, I think, is specifically, right? Like, we've seen Rotom Heat rise up in popularity, but this is a mon that, do 20% to it with U-turn. That damage adds up, right? Because that's all Darmanitan has to do. All it has to do is come in and click U-turn. Maybe click Ice Crash once if it has a free turn to do that. And I've seen games end where you've left your Rotom Heat or your Rotom Wash or your Seismitoad or your whatever healthy enough to take a hit, and you did not win because it crashed through you, right? It flinched you and beat you or crit you or whatever. Because there's a running joke that this Pokemon has Serene Grace, Super Luck, and No Guard, and I mean I feel that, but to ban it as a whole, I'm always iffy about that. I'm a big fan of figuring out ways to adapt around certain Pokemon. Like, I'm the type of dude who would love Blaziken back in OU just because, who cares? Like, I don't care about these complex bans either. I would have loved a Suspect, but again, I understand why they did it the way they did because SPL is right there, and they want to care more about the competitive and the tournament side of things.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying. I'm actually going to take the time. I know it's on your screen right now, but I'm going to take the time to actually read their reasoning and soothe you with my voice. Not you, Joey, but the audience.
Thank you. Yeah, because I'm not soothed at all. Pretty creeped out, to be honest.
Joey's a hater.
Yes.
So the OU Council has decided to ban Darmanitan Galar. After gauging community opinion and discussing amongst ourselves at length, ourselves meaning the OU Council, we have come to the unanimous decision. Unanimous. So absolutely everybody on that council agreed. Yes. We have come to the unanimous decision that it is the best course of action, since Darmanitan Galar is quite literally the embodiment of the word overpowered. Choice banned. I keep saying Darmanitan Galar just doesn't roll off the tongue well.
Just put Darmanitan, bro. Why they put it like that? Galarian Darmanitan.
Right. Choice band Darmanitan Galar lacks any counters. While it does not necessarily mean the Pokemon is broken by definition, in this particular case, there are a few arguments to lay on top of that. The moves Darmanitan Galar needs to employ in order to be uncounterable typically range from 2 to 4, depending on the matchup. This means that it isn't really restricted by any form of four movement slot. Why did they say it like that too?
Dude, they make it really like they try to make it sound really thing. Just say that this dude doesn't care about what moves it clicks. Like
I mean, I understand. I'm not upset with that. It's just that they 4 moveset slot syndrome. Like, it's 4 movement slot syndrome for this. I've never heard it called 4 movement slot syndrome. Anyway.
Yeah.
Additionally, it can usually freely click the Ice type move U-turn for great returns. really not getting any really not getting satisfactory damage no matter what gets clicked. Really not getting satisfactory damage no matter what is clicked. Interesting wording there. I get what they're saying, but it's kind of cumbersome the way they worded that.
Doesn't freaking roll off the tongue at all. Keep going.
To top it all off, Darmanitan Galar is occupying a proud 95 base speed tier. That is a lot for Sword and Shield OU metagame. It outspeeds the entire roster of defensive Pokemon in OU that OU has to offer, as well as faster staples such as Togekiss, Excadrill, and Rotom forms, merely losing out to a handful of a handful of exceptionally fast outliers. So basically, after all that wordiness, they're saying that Darmanitan isn't broken per se in and of itself. So, objectively, if you look at the Pokemon, look at his ability, it's powerful, yes, but that's not what the issue is, that's not what incited the quick ban. Is more so the lack of flexibility apparently provides for the opposing player. And it's more so because of his move range.
How do you feel about that statement? The lack of flexibility it provides for the opposing player. Do you agree?
Not fully, yeah. But I mean, it's like I understand. So here's the thing with the stuff like this, if it was a metagame where like everybody was really really solid, maybe I'd say okay, let's stay. But there's a reason a lot of people complain about Darmanitan. It is. I'm not gonna say like what they're saying is it true and they're not facts to it. It's more of there are a lot of players that lose to Darm and may have like a team of Vaporeons, just because they don't know how to, like, they already accepted that Darm is a problem, and just by having a team of literal physically defensive max HP Vaporeons will still lose to it, and it skews things a bit. Like, it's hard to really gauge what a Pokemon's real worth is unless it's really tested by people who know how to play. Because if you don't know how to play and you're the majority and you struggle with, like, let's use the Reuniclus example from the last the what was it? Reuniclus. Was it something sack something? You remember that example?
Yeah, the opponent. So that one actually I don't think went up yet, but the opponent had an answer to Toxapex, but it was their defensive Reuniclus, and they let it take 98%.
It did go up. That was a stall. That was stall video.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. I'm trying to word this in a way where it's not misconstrued, because it's not as if, like, I'm actually very neutral about the ban. I see cases for it. Also see reasons why it's rash. I think when new Pokemon come back, there'll be a case for testing, because I get what I'd say as far as me being pro for this is because the Pokemon pool is so small, right? I think if we had all the stuff, then I don't think this would even be an issue, because not just because of the defensive things we get back, but more so because of the speed. Like, this is a very slowed metagame. Like, it's been maybe 3 gens since 317 was considered fast.
Yeah, this is Gen 4, Gen 5 comparable. Yeah.
Right. This is not, so for that to be considered a great speed tier now, that really just shows how much the metagame is shifted. So in all in all, it's more of like okay, all right, so it's mindless. So you remove the mindlessness, I think it only opens up more creativity for the metagame, which is why I'm not that like I'm like I don't mind it being gone. Do I not mind it being gone because I think it was broken? No. I just think it was more potentially unhealthy than it was broken per se.
I can agree with that, especially with, like you said, with the resources we have available. Answers are kind of limited, and I think it's not that answers are limited because obviously you could run a physically defensive water type, but I think in terms of what else is used alongside it also makes certain things not as great, right? Like take Avalugg for instance. Avalug's a great answer to the Scarf set. Doesn't really care, shrugs off moves, threatens it back with body press and whatnot, and has heavy duty boots to help it. But that's also a Pokemon that might not necessarily be that great in the OU tier when it has to think about Aegislash, losing the Pex, Mandibuzz toxicking it, Ferrothorn leech seeding it. Like, you know, I think that because we're in such unlimited metagame as you mentioned, and the fact that its actual speed tier allows it to outspeed Pokemon that might otherwise, you know, it's funny because it's specifically because it's an ice type, right? Like if this is a regular Darmanitan with Guerrilla Tactics, I don't think we'd have the same struggle at all because Flare Blitz, I think Sheer Force, Flare Blitz is stronger than Guerrilla Tactics if I'm not mistaken. It's around there, right? Like
I think Guerrilla Tactics
they're around the same.
Sheer Force is up, I think 1.3. Guerrilla Tactics.
Yeah, you know, I'm thinking about Life Orb. Sorry. I think Flare Blitz is strong base power, but like that mon in particular, I don't think we would be seeing the exact same thing at all because Ice is, as you mentioned before we got into the call, Ice is such a great offensive typing, right? And it having solid coverage, and I think the big thing is it's no drawback U-turn, right? Like it's consistently getting strong damage off on something, right? It's consistently hitting you with essentially a choice band hit every single time it gets in. And it just really makes counterplay. They actually listed some calculations as well versus really defensive Pokemon. Yeah, but now I think Choice Band Galarian Darmanitan obviously is stupid strong as hell too. Like the fact that it's 2-hit KO in Pikamuku, Avalugg is getting 2-hit KO'd as well, et cetera, et cetera. But I do think its best set and most popular set was easily the Choice Scarf one, and for good reason, right? Outspeeding all the threats and just being able to get that chip. Its ability to set up for itself is scary. Like that's a big thing. Again, do I agree that it's necessarily broken? I don't know. Have I lost to it? Yeah. Was I angry when I lost to it? Sure. Would I have loved potentially? I mean, they do talk about this later on, so I don't want to get too deep into it right now. But I would have loved them banning Guerrilla Tactics as opposed to the Pokemon as a whole. That way I could still use Zen mode because, you know, having a generation where Zen mode actually isn't trash is so cool. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's just its ability to break through potentially everything, right, with the right set is a big thing. But I mean, you could argue that about Kartana. You could argue that about Magearna. They just don't exist right now, which is the big thing. Right? A lot of the counterplay, which would probably make this a lot worse, just doesn't exist.
Right. I do think if again the meta was back, there are a lot of things missing that the speed tier would just be significantly different. You'd see a lot more punishers for stuff like U-turn, so a lot more Rocky Helmet users, because U-turn is it's pretty predictable when they're gonna U-turn. The thing is, there's just not a lot of room for stuff like the Scarfers, the fast Scarfer. There's not a bunch of Scarf Kartanas. They're not Celesteelas who can click protect as like there just aren't those toys anymore. A lot is missing. So I think Darm is just kind of like bad timing. Again, inherently I don't think it's broken. But definitely for the environment it's in, I can see how they'd view it as an unhealthy addition. I don't really factor in Icicle Crash flinches because that's just a chance.
That is a chance.
Like that's a chance thing. Like that's, you know, Magma Storm. You may hit. You mean like that's a chance thing. Like I don't unless it was like 100% guaranteed or like 95% flinch chance, that's different. But it's 30. Excuse me, it's 30%. There are plenty of times it doesn't flinch. There are plenty more times it doesn't flinch than it does. It just feels like that because when it does, it's usually at a crucial moment. And
of course, oh, you've protected your Rotom. You have a berry. Nah. But yeah.
I don't want to make this decision strictly off like emotion or how annoying something is. I think a lot of within the Stall podcast, a lot of people's thing was like, well, Stall isn't broken per se, but as a casual player coming on, and a lot of counter arguments where it's just not as enjoyable to play against, which is fair. Like, I mean, I get that. Like, I get the fun argument, but that doesn't mean that it's worthy of what people have been saying about it.
Yeah.
And saying about the player and saying it takes no skill and da 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 da. Okay, it takes no skill, huh?
Definitely not true.
All right, let me give you a Stall team and you don't know how to use Stall and see if you don't get 6-0. Like, But yeah, that's pretty much it. All I had to say about that. Right
you want to go on?
Yeah, I'll just briefly mention what they say here. The Choice Scarf is the other popular choice on. I'm just gonna call it the Galarian Darmanitan.
Yeah, they should have too.
I'll just call it Darm, really. Choice Scarf is the other popular choice on Darm. This item allows it to reach those few faster Pokemon like Dragapult and prevent it from being outsped by slower Pokemon holding a Choice Scarf, such as the Rotom forms. Additionally, Choice Scarf enables Darmanitan to escape Dugtrio at times, depending on the circumstances. While this means that Darmanitan Galar is able
reading it like that.
is able to get countered by certain Pokemon, it maintains remarkable power. Access to U-turn means that it is still able to make progress against those. Lastly, the sheer existence popularity of the Choice Scarf further supports the Choice Band's effectiveness due to the respected demands, and the opposite is also true as well, although to a lesser extent. Addressing its two obvious flaws and why they do not suffice to keep Darmanitan in check: low defensive, bad defensive typing. Darmanitan Galar, fuck it, dude. It can indeed not switch into almost anything. However, it has the offensive Pokemon. As an offensive Pokemon, it doesn't need to. The aforementioned wonderful speed tier, paired with its monstrous attacking stat and good coverage options, allows Darmanitan to put tremendous pressure on the enemy team in a timely manner. Hazard weakness: Darm is weak to every single hazard. Stealth Rocks looks like a pretty limited factor until you play a game with Darmanitan and realize it will gladly take 25% for the opportunity to dish out an attack, as that will most likely have fatal results. Toxic Spikes and Spikes are mostly limited to a single Pokemon each, Toxapex and Ferrothorn. The former has some trouble fitting them in the first place. I think they're referring to Toxapex. They should have said what. They should have said what Spike, because they said Spikes and Toxic Spikes and fitting them. Because I've seen personally just as much Toxic Spike as I've seen Toxic.
Yeah, same.
So would also like to have a Baneful Bunker when facing Darmanitan Galar, and you can run your own to absorb the safety spikes. Can be a nuisance, but at the end of the day, they act very similar to Stealth Rock, and Darm usually abuses Ferrothorn and the structures he is on pretty well.
I don't know if I agree that Darm abuses Ferrothorn, especially if Ferrothorn runs Protect. Darm can only go for one move that can knock it out. The other move risks Gyro Ball, Leech Seed Power, whatever.
Yeah, it forces Blitz.
Yeah.
It forces Blitz. But I get the idea. I get the idea. I'm sure there are biases amongst these things, but I get the idea. And I think most of the community want it gone. I mean, the attack house is gonna be pretty upset. The defense house is gonna be rejoicing, but I don't think this being gone. I don't think it being gone really impacts the metagame in any negative way, which is why I'm like neutral. I don't think it's oh, now this is on the loose because Dharm is gone. Like, I think it only provided restrictions with the pool of Pokemon we have right now. So, now with that being gone, I think you may see like a rise in other things that previously may have not felt comfortable. Felt comfortable showing their head in OU. So, yeah.
I think that's fair as well. Maybe like I'd throw out a random name, Rhyperior.
Yeah,
Fear doing it, but Rhyperior might rise in popularity for its ability to break through Ferrothorn, Toxapex, Rotom Heat.
Mm-hmm.
But before it was feeling not so much because of, you had to run Seismitoad to take 40% and then Toxic back and Protect versus Darmanitan,
Mm-hmm.
like, so now maybe, I can see that.
Yeah, but as and that's just like the final point. So all right, so Darmanitan with Gorilla Tactics is broken. Why aren't we just banning Gorilla Tactics? And their explanation is we ban Pokemon regardless of whether their move pool, their stats, or their abilities make them overpowered. Our tiering system is built on this principle. Banning Pokemon components separately will produce a bloated and convoluted rule set if consistently used as a first measure. The circumstances need to be exceptional for us to stray from this norm, such as the inherently uncompetitive, heavy luck-based, devoid of skills abilities, or abilities that affect a larger variety of Pokemon very negatively. The two recent examples were Shadow Tag and Moody. So Shadow Tag is banned, Moody's banned, and I'm sure with time, I could put my money on it, Arena Trap will be going as well.
Yeah.
So just wait for that. And for those who are like, they Smogon always banned the Verlicifiers. You want to make this as objective as possible and not view it as, hey, I'm little Timmy and I want to come on and use my Galarian Darmanitan and you only play Showdown 2-3 times, like 2 battles, 3 battles, once every couple days or something. You're not really representative of the metagame. So, it's selfish for you to come with your very diluted perception of the metagame and you're lurking in the 1300s. And that's fine because you're a casual player. But it makes sense why people who play the game more have more say. That's only fair. And people who are better at the game have more say. They're playing this game all the time. You may not be, and you may not like that. You can't use your Shadow Tag Gothitelle, but you're not here to play. So, take it with a grain of salt.
I think a big thing as well is that this is only Smogon's metagame. You're still free to use Darmanitan in any metagame you really want. I saw it do the person who just won the VGC Worlds Champion Invitational the other day was using Darmanitan in their team.
Yeah, both of them.
And there's also Battle Spot singles as well.
Who won that, by the way?
Sajin.
Oh, so he didn't end up winning. Okay.
Yeah, he ended up winning. So, I mean, me personally, I don't like certain things being banned. Darmanitan, obviously, Jam is neutral towards the ban. I'm more so, I would have loved to play with it more and abuse it in SPL personally too. Like in tournaments, I would have loved to click buttons with this mod.
Well, you were gonna get abused by it too, and then you'd have been mad.
Of course,
You'd have been mad. Like Joey would have been like, "Oh man, this shit is stupid. I was gonna win, and I got Icicle Crash."
Post commentating me getting flinched 7 times in a row. Of course, I'd be mad. Of course, in that situation, anybody would be mad. But I do hope that the OU Council kind of takes, an example from UU and decides to test things back in the future, right? Especially because it's quick ban, so it wasn't community actually based.
Right.
It was based on a few people complaining, sure, and it could have even been 100 people complaining, right? But maybe 100 people out of 10,000 people that play OU, It's not the big. It's not the majority. So I would hope that in the future we would at least get a suspect to test it back in to see if it's banned like that, or even something with or Zen mode or anything like that as well. I personally think they need to adopt new ways of dealing with quote unquote complex bans, or even, oh well, the casual player isn't going to understand this thing. Well, the casual player is going to be mad anyway that Darmanitan's banned, so why don't you just let us use Zen mode or type of thing, right? That's the way I've always thought, personally. Especially as a PR move, I feel like that'd be a great thing too. But that's going more so into the quote unquote politics of Pokemon, I guess.
I mean, yeah, it's important because if it's not,
people don't want to play,
right? If people don't come on Showdown anymore,
it's not going to exist.
You're going to do what they want. So, we'll see moving forward. I think, again, because there's just no negatives to it being gone, other than you don't get to use that particular Pokemon. It's just like Dynamax. Dynamax being gone didn't negatively impact the metagame. Like, it wasn't like anything became worse. And skill fell, or so when there's things like that, I'm like, okay, I understand, like, and the less restrictions for yourself. So now, you can use your Eldegoss or whatever the hell that thing is called. Maybe, no, not really, it sucks, but you can use something else. Like, you can use your Rhyperior, as Joey was saying. Like, it breeds, like, OU has the potential for the first time in a long time to be very, very diverse. And when I start the team building series, you're gonna really see that. Learn, as again in our channel trailer. The point of this channel is to empower players and encourage open-mindedness, meaning empower you guys to be able to think for yourselves, draw your own conclusions. These are just my opinions, Joey's opinions. These aren't, set in stone fact, laws of the universe. So you take it with a grain of salt. Makes sense, doesn't make sense, agree, disagree. Again, think for yourselves and be open-minded to things. Don't think you're always right either. No, it's because of the... What if you're wrong? So
I mean, I definitely don't think I'm right either. I'm just one opinion out there.
Right. That's all this is. It's just opinionated podcast. So that's pretty much it. We've covered everything. Unless Joey has any finishing thoughts.
No, I mean, maybe I'll make a shorter video on mine and lead to this as well. But overall, gonna miss Galarian Darmanitan.
Yeah, period. For sure. Especially after my last live, gonna really miss it. But yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. Check out the other episodes of On the Contrary. This is gonna be like your news updates, like On the Contrary, your news updates, podcast, whatever. And yeah, see you guys in the next one. Peace. Subscribe to Joey.